So I'm going to teach you this one skill that will make even your cheap guitar, once you're through with it, feel 10 times better to play. I'll break it up into 4 main steps with one cheeky bonus tip at the end thrown in to help take things to the next level.
We're going to have you going from this to this.
What's going on, legends? This is Nathan here. If you've ever checked out my channel before, I'm sure you're aware I like to tinker and screw around with electric guitars. I attempt to help teach you the tips and tricks I learn along the way to help avoid some of my stuff ups and help you make the most out of your instrument. So no matter where you are, good quality, well-made and really cheap guitars are becoming more and more affordable in more and more places. As I'm sure you'll agree, this is heaven for people like you and me that like to tinker and screw around with them. In Australia, Artist Guitars sort of fills that role. They offer a heap of really cool, iconic, classic shapes with some really, really good specs at very cheap prices. All right, so this bugger here started life as their most budget of budget models, the Artist EB2. So featuring a poplar body, what I believe to be maple with an eco rosewood fretboard, which we talk about in one of these reviews, put us somewhere up top. A vintage 6-screw strut style trim and a single bridge humbucker, all in a nice, neat, black and white package. Very stripped back, Spartan, simple. It's kind of a cool vibe for what it was, to be honest. Pick one of these up, it would have been about 130 bucks. It was crazy cheap and pretty well got straight to work modifying it. So I was a little bit inspired by Jerry Cantrell from Alice in Chains and his very, very cool GNL Rampage, and wanted to make something sort of inspired by that. I installed a Kayla tremolo. I installed an Artist, one of their premium humbuckers, their bullbucker, a different knob and a graphite impregnated Graphtec nut. So for the body, in my back shed, I painted a very cool Nissan Skyline R34 Millennium Jade, and the pickguard is an R32 Skyline Gunmetal Grey for something a little bit different. Yeah, so as you can see, we got a little bit heavy-handed with the wet sanding. Looks right from a distance, just don't look too close. It's part of the fun of a cheap guitar. Didn't seem to bother Ed too much with the Franken strap. Had it a few years now. It was a fun project that did actually end up playing better than I expected, to be honest with you. But as things go, I think it's about time to move it on to someone else looking for something cheap and functional to add to their collection, or even cooler, start their guitar journey with. Before putting it up for sale, I think we can spend a little bit of time and make this thing play even nicer for the next guy or gal. So I don't know about you guys, but to me, the most important part of an electric guitar is the neck. It's the main interface between your fingies, the fretboard, and your ear holes. So the back profile itself is highly personalized. They come in different shapes, sizes, and thicknesses. Some people prefer a big, thick, chunky baseball bat neck. Some people prefer a really, really thin, shreddy neck, very fast neck as they sometimes refer to them as. This ain't what I'm referring to. This ain't what I'm talking about. Because I think one thing we can all agree on, regardless of the thickness of your neck, is that crap fretwork is crap. You know what I mean when I say that. Improperly seated frets, so I'm sitting higher than others, causing notes to choke when you try to bend them, or pokey fret ends that actually protrude out the corners of the fretboard that irritate the shit out of your hand when you're moving up and down the neck. So the fret ends will be our focus this time around, being the absolute cheapest of Artist Guitars lineup. While they're all beautifully seated and level, which is meant for playability, the fret ends themselves are a little bit pokey. So the actual metal fret is sticking out just a bee's dick out of the fretboard. So I'll give you a bit of a comparison. There's a chair leg. Why do I have a chair leg? I think you asked too many damn questions. You can see if I run this down across the neck, you can literally see those fret ends chewing up the timber. Not fully sick. So very obviously no bueno. I'm going to do something about it and I'm going to take you along for the ride. First, these are the tools you're going to need. First up, some masking tape, just some basic low tack painter's tape will be fine. It's exactly what this is, I just got it from my work. Secondly, and this is really the only specialty tool you'll need, some sort of fret dressing file. There are a range of them you can get online for fairly cheap. This one here, I did invest and got a nice one through Stumac. Special file, why can't I just use one of these? Cheers for asking, other Nathan in a different hat. Well, a couple of reasons. Firstly, you want to make sure you're using a file with what is called a safe face. This is one of the faces of the file. It is perfectly smooth, doesn't have any cutting teeth. This is because we want to get this nice and close to the fretboard, or basically right up against it, and don't want our filing action to gouge the shit out of the board. That won't be good, that won't look nice. I'll get to the second advantage of a fret dressing file in a little bit. Thirdly, you want a fairly clear workspace to work. Footwork can be a little bit fiddly, so not having shit in the way is always very, very nice. Fourthly, various grits of sandpaper. Once again, nothing special. You don't need to go super coarse for this sort of work. For like a fret end dress, I'll normally go from about 600 to 3000 grit. So now let's get into it. Firstly, let's slap some tape onto this neck. So experienced luthiers would probably skip this step. I'm no bloody luthier. So I find it a cheap little bit of extra insurance just to protect that fretboard from any nicks or gouges or scrapes, because let's be honest, accidents do happen. So just gonna get our tape right up against that fret. So now it's just a matter of repeating that 21 more times. 9 times out of 10, if you are taping up a cheap guitar, it'll have some sort of polyurethane finish. You generally won't have a drama. But I will say, just be mindful if you are working on something with a nitrocellulose finish. Sometimes the adhesives in a lot of tapes can react and leave imperfections in the finish. So if you're checking out a YouTube tutorial while doing a fret dress on your old man's bloody 50s Les Paul, just bear that in mind. So in that instance, you'd want something specifically that is really, really low tack. Once again, Stumac does sell it. I'm sure there are plenty of other vendors that sell tape fit for purpose, but yes, just bear that in mind. Alrighty, so she's all taped. Now that that is done, it's time to whip out your fret file. As I said, safe face of your file against the fretboard. Yeah, just get it right up next to the fret and just nip off those corners. Alrighty, so obviously this would take a while. Find a position that's comfortable for you. So the biggest thing you want to make sure is you try to replicate those same angles you hit the fret at for each fret. You just try to keep things consistent. I find it does feel a little bit wonky going both sides. If you're ambidextrous, you'll be well off. You'll be able to easily replicate it with your left hand. Sort of want to hit it. I sort of hit it roughly at a sort of 35, 40 degrees angle, really roughly. Not quite a 45. So I think this is a reminder for myself more than anything, but obviously take your time, just go one by one, try to do as good a job as you can. A bit of extra care and attention to detail spent here can, make all the difference in the years and years of playing to come on your instrument. So if you've gotten this far, well done, you're a bloody legend, but we're not finished yet. Now, it's time to go over the second advantage of using a file specifically made for dressing frets gives you. So a proper fret dressing file has a unique shape to it. It's almost like a D. Remember how we were talking about safe edges? So faces of the file with no cutting teeth. So as we just found out, that lower flat face sits hard against the fretboard and allows you to attack those edges without gouging up any of the wood. This thing here actually has two safe edges. One at the bottom of the D and one at the top. Here and here. Alrighty, so we're going to get into that now. Channeling your inner Fred Durst. We've got to start rolling, keep rolling. God, that was terrible. One thing I should quickly note while you're going, or before you go ham on your frets, when you're rolling that edge, just be conscientious of which part of the fret you're hitting. You want to keep all your attacks sort of localized to the end of the fret. You don't want to roll up the fret too high and hit the very, very top of the fret. Fret comes to a point, it's called a crown. That's where your string rests on. You don't want to come up so high that you're hitting that crown and knocking it flat. Because of that, will screw up your playability and your intonation in a not so cool way. So once again, just take your time. Just be deliberate with where you're stroking. So the other rounded safe edge still sits up against the fretboard, but allows you to roll the top of the fret, giving you a really nice, finished, smooth feel. Just gives you a little something extra. So once again, you don't have to go too crazy. Take your time and just try to be consistent. Just sort of similar angle to the initial nipping, but you just sort of roll it up the fret. Sort of rounds it over a little bit. And whichever old mate picks this up, I hope he has a very good time playing. Alrighty, so now we're going to put that fret dressing file away, bust out your sandpaper. So first, we're going to take off the tape. We don't need to be protecting the top of that fretboard anymore. And we're going to spend some time sanding those fret ends, just with various grits of sandpaper. Start with your coarser stuff. In this case, I'm using 600, so it's still fairly fine, and just working your way up. So let's get that tape off. I'll explain why we're taking the tape off, even though we're still sanding things in a second. If you're worried about protecting your guitar's finish, you can absolutely run a strip of tape along the side of the neck. Once again, it's just a strip of tape is a cheap little bit of insurance to your investment. Cheap or dear, you still want to look after them. I'm not going to do that. Reason being, if you stand your side of the guitar and you're sanding away from that finish. So yeah, just a few light passes, don't have to go crazy. Sort of see that shine them up a little bit. Now, flip it around to the other side. So we're getting a bit of a shine happening on those fret ends. They're feeling really nice and smooth, feeling good. You may have noticed while on our little sanding escapade, he's done one more thing to the guitar neck. Hitting just the corner of those frets with the sandpaper also ever so slightly hits the fretboard itself. What that does is that slowly wears off the hard edge on the fretboard and gives the neck a really nice played in feeling as well. Yeah, twofold. It's made the frets feel nicer, it's made the neck feel nicer. Now for that bonus step. So while we're in here screwing around with those fret ends, refining them and getting them really nice, it is the perfect opportunity to bust out your Auto Sol or other favourite metal polish. If you're the type to have a favourite metal polish, If you are, you're probably watching this video. And really get those suckers to shine. So when I'm doing this, I like to just use one of these fret protectors. You can get them in 2 widths. Use the skinny one as you go up the fret. Just helps minimise the amount of shmoo that gets on the fretboard. And really, really easy. You just apply it with a microfiber cloth.
And noticeable bald.
This thing looks and feels next level now, but I'll show you I'm not full of shit. The table leg. I scratched up all my beautiful fretwork, but if you need to now saw a table leg, you're gonna fail miserably. Now, after surviving the chair leg test, it's time to string it up. Once again, I just used Artist Guitars 9 through 42 gauge strings. They're very well priced, they feel good, supports an Australian company. What more could you want? We're gonna slap them on this bad boy and give it a quick bash. So before, sometimes tremolo systems can be a bit tricky to tune up. Great thing on this bridge. It's in a bit of a crappy spot, but just a matter of tightening up that Allen key, and she's now fixed. The wiggle is gone. That also means you don't have to fight string tension and things shifting around while you're trying to tune it up. So with these, don't have to clip the ball ends off. They just go, oh my goodness. There you go, come on. That little hook in the roller. And that's it. How good is that? Almost forgot, but I'll do it before we get too deep into it. This is just lemon oil. Acts as a cleaner and a conditioner for mainly rosewood boards. I'm sort of just using it right now to just help get any extra gunk off the fretboard. Eco rosewood, basically just bloody sawdust and glue. Let's not bullshit ourselves. So it probably won't take in too much, or it won't really enhance the look. But just keep it nice and clean. Don't want the next time having a bit of a play and getting his fingers covered with with metal polish. That's not very cool. So nice. So my tip here for getting nice consistent string winds on all your posts. So, you know, there's not too many or not too few. I'll measure one post. I'll measure 2 posts from there. That section there will be where I put it through the tuner. Till about there. Kink it up to sort of hold him in place. But they're all pretty consistent. 3 to 4 reps on each. time you're watching this video, this guitar's already put up for sale. I really hope it provides someone new to their guitar playing journey, something solid, a little bit different, a little bit fun to start with. So let me know if you learned something new. Have you tried your own fretwork before? Or what was your last modification you performed on your instrument? Same thing, let us know down below. If you like the video, feel free to subscribe and all that standard YouTubey stuff. Stay in tune, stay cool. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Cheers.